Well, welcome back, and I really hope that you're having lots of fun with your students and working with them with sounds. Sometimes that can really be very humorous. I hope your students are laughing at themselves, laughing at one another, and just having a good time, because that's so critical and so important, especially as you meet week by week in your class sessions. And you probably already noticed also, not only with pronunciation, but as we move on to clap the stress, that some of the sounds that your students are not familiar with, that may not be in their language, it begins to deteriorate. For example, the ah sound for Spanish speakers will soon become ah as they move through the column. And so you have to keep reminding them that to say the ah sound. And sometimes what I do is I tell them that they have to smile and push the tongue up to the roof of their mouth to be able to get the ah sound. That you cannot say ah and look really morose. You know, you have to laugh and be ah, and that forces the tongue up, and they're able to get that sound. So as you're working through the columns, you will help them produce that particular sound. That's the same way with clap the stress. Clap the stress is going to be lots of fun. So your students are going to have to be standing. They're going to be standing. Don't sit down at all. This is interactive. And let me say a little bit about what the word clap to stress. Clap to stress is really rhythm and cadence, or rhythm and stress. This is such an important part of the lesson. I have had experiences where I've had student teachers, people who've been in the United States for 30 years, who have learned English but never practiced their rhythm and stress. And I remember this one time in a workshop, I had just finished demonstrating how to do clap to stress. And after we finished demonstrating one of the columns, this one teacher who had come to observe and participate suddenly just leaped out of her chair, and she came up, she said, "Oh, if somebody had taught me how to do the rhythm and stress 30 years ago, I'd be speaking better English." And that made me realize that this portion, this segment of the lesson, may be as important, if not more so, than correct grammar or correct word placement in a sentence. And if you have young children growing up and you have listened to them as they are learning how to speak, quite often as they are learning, you have figured out what they are trying to say, not by the words that they are trying to use and mispronouncing, but by the rhythm pattern. You know what they're trying to say. I know for myself, as my children and grandchildren grew up, I could talk to them on the telephone, and even though they were trying to describe something, I could tell by their rhythm pattern what they were trying to say, even though they did not have command of the sound of a certain word. So let me just emphasize how important it is, this particular segment, and you may want to use half of a class session just on the various syllable and stress patterns of this segment. All right? Now, somebody says, do we have to clap? And let me just say, if you're in a room that has lots of echo, you don't want to clap because it would be so noisy you wouldn't be able to hear yourself think. The important thing is that you are able to demonstrate through some body action where your students should be putting the stress in a word, so they have a natural flow. And let me just say that every language has a certain type of music. And so English has a type of music, and that's what you're really teaching. You're teaching the music component of the English language. And so it's important for them to hear, to listen to that, and then to be able to see where they should need to put the stress so they sound more like a native English speaker. Now, in the English, again, I would recommend that you maybe make a chart like this off of your computer if you are meeting in a class where there is no formal visual aid. The large dot is the main stress. The small dots are the unstressed parts of the word. Now, some of us say, "Oh, I'm clapping, you know, how do I do this, clap to stress?" Well, my recommendation is, and what I do often, is if I'm in a room that has some sound abatement or sound buffers, I will just maybe slap the side of my leg. Often when I'm in a room that has lots of echo, I will just sort of tap my foot on the floor. Sometimes what I have found helpful is that I will do a body gesture to show where to put the stress. So it's baby, mother, father, so they know where the stress. Now they can hear it, and it's good for maybe the first lesson or two to maybe exaggerate or emphasize where to put the stress so that they are saying it correctly. By the time you move on to the other lessons, they will know, they will be able to understand the purposes of the dots, and they'll be able to hear and respond correctly, and you won't have to do all the exaggerated body. Another thing that you may have to be aware of, and let me just say this comes from experiences of our tutors and myself, is that if you're using a gesture, some type of body language, you want to make sure that when they respond in solo, that they are not suddenly standing up and doing the body language. That you're just using it as a demonstration of where to put the stress, and you don't want them to say, "Hi, how are you?" And clap, because that is not part of our greeting or part of our interaction. We just want to have them learn where to put the stress in a sentence or in a word. All right, so that's what you need to watch out. And so the body language, work whatever works for you. And if you think that you don't have rhythm, well, first of all, you're wrong. If you can speak English, speak your own native language, you have access to rhythm. You do have rhythm because you're using it all the time. So you do have rhythm. Now, you may not be able to multitask and be able to clap or tap while you're talking or teaching. And so if you have a problem with this and you think, oh my goodness, this is just, I'm just not wired to do it this way. Well, if you have a teaching partner, maybe they can do it and you just become the helper. If you both have a problem, then you can use the audio tapes, that you can get downline off the internet, and you can just play those and follow along using the charts if you'd like. Okay? Now let's talk about how to do the clap to stress. So here you are, your partner. You start with the single syllable word. You do it the same way you would with the pronunciation. So you'd say, please listen, and you start the rhythm. And you might want to just have them start getting the rhythm. And so the students are feeling the rhythm. Okay, good. And you say, please listen. And while your partner is starting and helping them to get the rhythm and pattern and moving together as a team, then you then say, boy, fish, cat, bird, and you're constantly keeping the rhythm going. Keep the rhythm going. And say, okay, please listen. Boy, fish, cat, bird. You keep moving again. You don't stop. You keep and don't go too fast. Go slow. And if you need to, you can boy and then feel a pause. Boy, pause. Fish, pause. Cat, pause. Bird, pause. So feel that rhythm. So you're moving through. Everybody is standing. Everybody's engaged. And they're looking at the word and they're saying boy, fish, cat, bird. All right? And you go through the model, the repeat, and the solo. Each student is able to go through the column. Now it gets fun, because single syllable, that's simple. But now we're getting into multi-syllable words. So how do you teach this? And this is really important, because I want you, if you're not sure just how to teach this, you just read the word. A boy, a fish, a man, a cat. Okay, that's how I have to do it. So now, how do you tap it? Well, my recommendation is you just put the main stress on the big dot. So, and you don't slow down. Oh, if you slow down, you're going to sound like this. A boy, a fish, a man. And we don't talk that way. Here's how we talk. A boy, a fish, a man, a cat. Please listen, a boy, a fish, and your partner's clapping, they're moving with you as students, a boy, a fish, a man, a cat. And then you go through repeat and solo. And each student then is saying this column. All right? Now it gets even more fun. Now you have 3 syllables. So you think, okay, how do I do this? Okay, so just read it. A father. That's how we say it. A father. Da da da. A father. Okay, good. Then you get them going. Da 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 da. And they're da. Now that's just why you don't want to go too fast. If you go too fast, you're going to be like a machine gun. So da 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 da. Okay, good. And everybody's just clapping or tapping or slapping or something. And then what you do, you say, then you use the lead teacher and somebody's holding this. You say, please listen. A father, an apple, a mother, a baby. And everybody continues. Da, 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 da. And you say, please listen again. A father, an apple, a mother, a baby. And then you say, please repeat. And everybody's still clapping. You don't stop. You don't pause. You clap. And then they will repeat chorally, a father. And then you go through the column. And you're saying it along with them. And then when they get the solo, you're just listening for them. As you're moving your finger across the sheet, they will say it, and with the rhythm patterns continuing to go. And then each student then you can stop. Let me just say that then on solo, when each student is doing it, then everybody stops. And unless everybody wants to continue doing it. I just let the class do what it likes. Then each student then will be able to go through the column, a father, an apple, a mother, a baby, okay? And go through the column. Now, it's important for you. This can be tricky. Sometimes this can cause some tutors to be somewhat frustrated. So I want you to take about a half an hour right now, 35 minutes, and get one of the columns from Lesson 1. You have several columns, and if there's more of you than there are columns in the Lesson 1, select one from Lesson 2 or Lesson 3, and have your students stand. Do not have them sitting. Have them stand. And one partner will hold a chart, and the other partner will go through the column. And the person holding the chart, if there's just 2 of you in a pair, they can hold a chart and help get the rhythm patterns. And then just move your hand from left to right, as I'm doing here, and go through each of the columns. If you have trouble, remember that, have your partner help you. We help one another in getting the pattern. Don't become mechanical and unnatural. A father, that's how we say it, a father, a boy, a book, okay? We say it that way. So now, take about 35 minutes, work on that, go through the columns, and then we'll come back and we'll follow up and move on to the next segment, okay? I know you're going to have fun, so don't be discouraged. You'll enjoy it. It's a kick and a half, all right? We'll see you back here in a bit. Bye-bye.